Are you making this mistake in your hiring process? The type of assessment you choose could be costing you the best candidates. Today, I'm breaking down the difference between Ipsative and normative types of assessments and which one is best to use for hiring. Hello, I'm Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. Now, I just want to mention I'm launching a new newsletter that I'll be sending out with tips on topics of leadership, team development, employee performance, and much more. And you could subscribe to that. There's a link in the description of this video, and when you do, you also get access to all my free forms, worksheets, templates, and these are things I make available and mention a lot in my videos, so I invite you to do that. Now, there are two types of assessments on the market. Basically, one is called Ipsative and the other is called Normative, and they're quite different and they serve different purposes. Ipsative type assessments are very popular. You have brand names like Myers-Briggs, Insights, Everything Disc. There's a slew of them. I don't know them all. And they're very effective, but they're ideal for when you want to coach people, when you want to better understand people, help them better understand themselves, create self-awareness, use as part of team building. They're great for that, but they shouldn't be used for hiring, at least not on their own. They should always be paired with a normative type assessment. Now, when I work with my clients, I use normative type of assessments. I keep it to just that one. The one I use is the PXT Select. I have quite a few videos talking about that assessment in depth. I'll put links in the description of the video. So why use a normative rather than an Ipsative? Well, there's lots of reasons. The first is that the Ipsative is going to give you feedback about the person based on how they answer the questions. And the questions, well, I'll just bring up the questionnaire for one of them that I use called the Profiles Performance Indicator. I've used it for years. And here's what the questionnaire looks like. So you're given a statement and you have to answer if that statement is more like you or less like you on a scale of 1 to 4. And you see the how to value or score that right here. All the assessments on the market have their own specific questionnaire, but most of them, or I think all of them, are basically built on the DISC model, which is a very popular model. It's basically the 4 big personality types. Are you more of a directive type, influencer type, steady type, or control type? And so that's the type of questions and answers to drive which type of person are you and how does that drive your behavior. Now, the report for the Profiles Performance Indicator is delivered according to 5 core competencies that typically every employee in any type of organization needs to perform well, I'd say. The first one is productivity. The second is quality of work. The third is initiative. 4th is teamwork. And 5 is problem solving. So this is very important information, but it doesn't really tell you how the person is going to perform a job. It's going to give you feedback about the person, information about them, which is great to use to discuss with them, to get greater insight into them, or have them get gain greater insight into themselves. But it's not going to predict how they're going to perform on the job. It really still leaves you with guesswork. Let's look at how the normative type assessment differs. If we look just at the instructions, it says you will be presented with a series of questions about yourself and asked whether you agree with each statement or disagree. So you're not rating it as to which statement pertains the most or least like you to you. It's just asking you, do you agree or disagree? Here is the graph that is generated for the individual along with the written text report, which coincides with the scores. So we call this a total person assessment because not only does it test or measure their personality, and in this case defined in behavioral traits, you could see all those scales listed here, but it also measures their cognitive ability, we call it thinking style, and also their interest. Here is the management report, and you could see that it differs because you have shaded areas on each scale. And that's what we mean by normative. Normative means we're norming somebody to a group of people or to a model. We call this a performance model, which is what you see on each scale as being the shaded area. And OC is Oliver Chase, that's his initials, and it shows where he scores, and relative to the performance model, it'll show a percentage match for each section, and at the top, the overall fit. This equips you with the tools to better predict how the person will perform in each job, and thus make better hiring decisions, take the guesswork out of hiring. So it's really important, like anything, to use the right tool when you're doing something. Think of construction. You have different types of hammers or saws for different purposes, and you want to use the right one to get the job done. The same thing with hiring. If you want to use an assessment, make sure you're using the right tool for the right job so you could be confident that your decision making includes valid data that is reliable and that you could use to make that better hiring decision. Now, I do offer free test runs on this. If you're a business or organization that's looking for the right assessment to use for hiring, I'd be happy to walk you through a more in-depth demo and provide a test run of this tool if that's something you're interested. So check the link in the description of the video. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I invite you to do so now. Turn on notifications to get news of new videos. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again soon.